Echo over eastern Sedgwick County.
Still on the ground, still moving towards the city.
Here comes another one. Hang on, Ted.
Got extensive damage. We need all reserves out and any other help we can get.
We got a closed head injury here, blood pressure 90 over 80, irregular pulse, probably internal injury.
April 26, 1991. A killer tornado rips through south-central Kansas, leaving 20 people dead, hundreds homeless, and millions of dollars in damage. I'm John Holt.
And I'm Melissa Beck. In the next 90 minutes, you'll see the strength of the storm through the eyes of the News Channel 3 team and through the eyes of our news watchers. We begin with the unedited video of news watcher Earl Evans, the incredible pictures from Terradyne as the tornado bears down on Andover, Kansas.
Almost 24 hours after a deadly storm hits with a fury, destroying everything in its path, its victims pick up the pieces. Hayesville and South Wichita looking like a war zone. The winner, the storm. The loser, the many homes and lives it destroyed. While the twister loomed, people watched, feeling helpless.
Oh, Lord. Cheryl, there's trash everywhere. There's trash everywhere. It's hitting hard.
It was an indication of what was yet to come for Hayesville's neighbors. Its next victims had no idea that within minutes the walls would come crashing down. People at McConnell Air Force Base took cover as they were hit by one of the most destructive storms in the area's history. And by this time, the skies were filled with funnel clouds moving in a straight path. People began to videotape the twisters, like this one in the Terradyne area, which came perilously close to claiming more victims. But the worst is yet to come as the tornado continues into Andover, changing many lives in this small town in just a matter of minutes. Andover becomes the hardest hit with the most homes destroyed, the most lives lost. But those who survive say they'll never forget what they saw.
Shelter was screaming, and when we came out, it was all gone. And we were walking around the trailer park, and there were just people laying everywhere.
Now underway, a cleanup project in Andover to help victims find shelter and regain their possessions. And just after the storm leaves the Andover area, it catches up with motorists on the Kansas Turnpike, including 2 members of our News Channel 3 team. It has them literally running for their lives.
It sounded like a freight train. It just passed right on top of us. People very upset. People underneath the girders of this overpass. They're still hanging on for their lives.
Can you get in the left lane, Greg? Yeah.
The pictures of the storm taken by News Channel 3's Ted Lewis and Greg Jarrett have received worldwide attention. Neither Greg nor Ted will ever forget those few moments of terror as the tornado overtook them.
Now we'll let you see that video again. First, the edited report, then the entire unedited tape as they met the deadliest storm head on.
We were not expecting it, nor looking for it. A tornado that suddenly appeared almost out of nowhere as we traveled south along the Kansas Turnpike, north of El Dorado.
Let's go, Craig, let's go. Listen to the wind, let's go, let's go, let's go.
We thought there would be plenty of time to videotape it, but within seconds, it was looming larger, headed right for us. Jumping back into our car, we tried to get away from it.
Go, go.
Shoot it.
You better floor it, you better floor it.
Shoot it.
We're all right, just stay ahead of it.
Attempting to outrun it to the only structure within miles, a highway overpass.
Keep going, man. Keep going.
Faster?
No. Yeah. Lots faster. Lots faster. Lots faster, Greg. It's catching us. You gotta go, buddy.
The twister, though, was gaining on us, and we made it there just moments before it struck.
Get up under the girders.
Is that where we want to go?
Yes. Underneath the girders.
Keep rolling, Ted.
It's coming at us. Keep rolling. Hang on, you'll be fine. Hang on to the girders. Don't worry about it. Just hang on. That's what you do. You're okay. Talk to me. You're okay. Talk to me. What happened? It sounded like a freight train. It just passed right on top of us. People very upset. People underneath the girders of this overpass. They're still hanging hanging on for their lives. It was a tremendous rush, flying debris everywhere. Some people look to be like they're all right, but they have some scratches and bruises. Here comes another one. Hang on, Ted. I got you. Hang on. You're all right. Don't put your hand over my mouth. A little break. You guys just about didn't make it.
Where was he at? Was he in the car or what? Yes.
Okay, Alex.
He's got a good heartbeat, but he's not awake. Hit his head. He's got a concussion or something.
Those who did not make it to the overpass were less fortunate. All along the turnpike, there were injuries and wreckage.
Your left hand and your head, okay? You remember everything that happened? Not really?
This man was thrown from his car after it was picked up by the twister and tossed across the highway into a ditch. The mangled wreckage lay next to him.
You need some place to sit down.
Yeah, I'd come up on the road and see the best place.
Alex, probably your best bet.
And some 30 yards away, a tractor-trailer rig, picked up like a toy and thrown across the highway. The trucker, who was trapped inside, remarkably survived.
You can't describe it. And completely from the far shoulder, rolled all the way over.
How do you feel?
I'd say 5 or 6 times.
How do you feel now?
I like to be alone for a few minutes. Got some thanking to do.
Throw this in the back. Can you throw this in the back?
Yeah, we're right in the middle of it, man.
Let's go, Craig, let's go. Listen to the wind, let's go, let's go, let's go. Listen to the wind. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Go, go, go.
Shoot it.
You better floor it, you better floor it.
Shoot it.
We're all right, just stay ahead of it. Just slow it.
Look at it, Ted.
Slow down. Slow down. All right, slow down. You're okay. Go ahead and stop for a second. You just go slow.
Look at it, Ted.
Slow down. Slow down. All right, slow down. Go. Can you get in the left lane, Greg?
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't help us. Go back. You're okay. Keep going, man. Keep going.
Faster?
No. Yeah. Lots faster. Lots faster, Greg. It's catching us. You gotta go, buddy. You gotta really go. You gotta blaze, buddy. I don't know Yeah, I think that's it. Go ahead of him. Go ahead of the van. Go ahead of the van.
We want to jump out.
Yeah, we want to jump out. We want to get in front of the van. Get under here.
Keep rolling.
Yeah, I'm rolling. That's good. That's good. We got to get in the ditch. I think, I don't know, where do we want to be? Maybe we want to ride it out.
Got it?
Let's go.
Get up underneath.
Under here, under here, under here.
Get up under the girders.
Is that where we want to go?
Yes. Underneath the girders. Keep rolling, Ted. It's coming at us. Keep rolling. Come here. Shove yourselves right up underneath them. And hang on to them. Hang on, you'll be fine. Hang on to the girders.
Don't worry about it. Hang on, Terry. That's what you do.
It sounded like a freight train. It just passed right on top of us. People very upset. People underneath the girders of this overpass. They're still hanging on for their lives. It was a tremendous rush. Flying debris everywhere. Some people look to be like they're all right, but they have scratches and bruises. Here comes another one. Hang on, Ted. I got you. Hang on. You're all right.
Don't put your hand over me.
It's okay.
It's over.
Some people obviously very upset.
It's fast. You can come over here and see it if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're looking at it as it passed right over our girders. It's heading now towards another overpass. There are 7 or 8 trucks, as well as a dozen or so cars, and it's heading right for them. It's going right for the next overpass. It may miss it to the right. It's incredible. It goes all the way up to the sky. It's a funnel in the typical sense of a tornado that we've all seen pictures of. And debris is everywhere, falling from the sky. It looks like it's past the next overpass, and it's still going strong. In fact, it looks stronger than ever. It's no problem.
How are you? You okay?
Awesome for sure to tell that. This is so cool.
You're all right. We're okay?
Yeah.
It's a little frightening. You guys just about didn't make it.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Were you trying the whole way?
We were going, we came back.
Where are you from?
Wichita.
Wichita?
Back in.
I'm from Rose Hill.
All right.
What station?
Channel 3.
Channel 3? I have a media program.
When we pulled over, did you see this thing coming at all?
Well, we've been looking at debris for probably 10 miles, and we've seen people under every bridge, but there hadn't been a place to stop. So we went on ahead, and we were in front of the semi. It pulled over, a van pulled over, and we saw it, so we stopped. We saw it tear the big power lines down there. Sparks flew as it came across those. We pulled over and stopped. It was coming at us, so I flipped to you and came back here. We got out. We got up here about 3-4 minutes before it hit.
Good job. Thanks.
Yeah.
This was the deadliest of all the tornadoes that touched down yesterday. Newswatcher Earl Evans captured this one from the Terradyne Country Club in Andover as the massive tornado was churning, twisting, devastating. At least 500 Andover homes were reduced to flying debris. Jeff Van Kuren captures the destruction left behind in Andover. Not a thing is left standing in this Andover neighborhood. South and east of there, 13-year-old Tel Wood shot this video from his house 2 miles south of McConnell Air Force Base.
Oh, it's hitting McConnell and South Wichita bad. It's huge.
Michelle Pickard brings us this video of the same tornado, but from the other side. Joe Harris discovered this tornado shot from Grand Avenue in Hayesville.
This is in Hayesville, Kansas. It's 616.
Richard Rico shows the devastating tornado left dozens of people in Hayesville with nothing but each other.
I just thank God we're alive. Me too.
This is what the Golden Spur Trailer Park looked like intact, less than 10 minutes before the killer tornado swept through Andover. Sergeant Paul C. of the Andover Police Department weaves up and down the streets, warning residents to take shelter.
Some of them were running to the shelter, some of them were running to their cars, and there was one guy that was walking along with his dog.
Paul normally uses his camcorder to document traffic stops. He never imagined using it to record the final moments of terror as the tornado devastated the town he has sworn to protect and serve. After warning as many people as he could in the time left, it was time for Paul to try and save himself.
Don't get this way. It's been on the ground for probably 10 minutes now. It looks like it's going to get up. Just about a half mile forward. Okay, all you is take cover. Don't stay out any longer. Go for cover.
When I saw the tornado was about to blow me away, I stayed as long as I could. I could see it coming from the northeast, or headed northeast towards me rather. And when I couldn't go again, when I couldn't make another pass without being afraid I was going to get blown away, then I headed for shelter myself.
Well, I'm at 143rd and Pawnee, and I can still see it. It's northeast of me, still on the ground in the Andover area now. It's 81, it just hit my 42. 81, it just 40. Turn Andover up, it's got Andover right now. Just hit the chief's house.
Four days later, Sergeant Paul C. is still on the job, manning the telephones at the Disaster Command Center. He will assess the storm damage to his own home once he is done helping residents clean up what's left of theirs.
And my home got blown away too. I live over there, so I lost my home too. I'm just thankful that my family was safe, and I've been too busy taking care of everybody else right now to get a whole lot done with my own. So I don't know too much yet.
Minutes after the tornado touched down in Goddard, there was confusion and fear. This horse broke loose and galloped onto Highway 54. Witnesses say the tornado came out of the clouds and touched down right on the high-tech performance boat dealership.
And you could see them dipping down out of the sky then. And then when I got down here to a little bit on Kellogg, it's a big old tornado. It just came down and touched down on here and got a few trees over there, and I'm surprised I missed that house there. It just tore it all apart.
The dealership appears to be a total loss. The 5 employees inside amazingly escaped serious injury.
Well, we just seen the wind out there, and all of a sudden the wind just started coming in, and we ducked, and of course the roof left, and it was gone. In 5 seconds, it was over with.
Employees quickly removed the boats from the showroom floor, trying to salvage anything that wasn't destroyed. They haven't had much time to think about what happened to them.
Thank God I'm alive, because that beam was where I was standing. Now I'm okay.
When the cleanup here is finished, many volunteers will head to other communities who need their help even more. This woman was relieved to find her sister, Vicki Stein, unhurt after she heard that the Cox farm had been destroyed by the tornado. 5 families lost everything.
Cousins, aunts, Grandma Cox, that's 90 years old, was in the cellar, and aunts and uncles, my kids, everybody, we were all in there. We have nothing. There was 5 families living here. We have nothing.
They said that he was out in the field. Maybe he run back in the ditch.
Minutes after the storm passed, Bill LaFont and his friends searched for Bill's son, Craig, who was playing outside when the storm hit. After a short time, they found a note saying that Craig had went to a friend's home and was safe.
They're probably okay. Yeah.
The gas we can smell here, is it safe?
Move down there towards that highway patrolman.
What about that telephone?
Meanwhile, officials were trying to move people out of the area because of a gas leak.
He broke below the stop, but it's plastic, and it broke above the stop, and I think I just hit stop off.
Then the search for the injured began. Emergency officials had problems reaching 3 women who were hit by flying debris. They were finally taken out by a truck.
Mark, you got some more down here? 2.
A stretcher was used to reach the ambulances to take them to the hospital. Most were saved because they took shelter, and everyone says they are just lucky to be alive.
I haven't heard of anybody dead yet. Got a lot of children.
Dazed and bleeding, victims walked through the rubble in search of help. Paramedics treated as many as they could amidst the debris, but for some, help came too late.
We have 4 confirmed that are dead. We have 1 that we just took out in critical condition, which is presumed dead. We have 3 that are extremely critical.
Resident Tim Slocum tried to resuscitate one woman who later died at his feet.
You can jump start a car. You better learn how to jump start a life.
But you weren't so lucky today.
There's only so much you can do.
Neighbors say this 13-year-old girl was thrown 400 feet against a tree. This is where her home stood only a few minutes before. She was taken away by ambulance in critical condition. For many, the loss of their home seemed trivial in the face of the widespread injuries. Alan Weiss saved only a few belongings.
Not much. Lower story, a little bit of it, and that's about it. Got 3 cars trashed and a boat trashed, and missing all our personal stuff.
How many did you send in my truck? Just this one girl from over
Just
here?
one. We cut red.
Okay.
Construction was so swift and complete, paramedics frantically try to cover the 2 to 3 block area, hoping to offer help to the wounded, but afraid they'll find for some there's nothing more they can do.
8 p.m., the command post is in place. Police, firefighters, paramedics, and volunteers begin to count the dead and assist the living. One Andover cop lucky to be alive after his squad car is gutted by the killer twister. Nearby, the oldest commercial garage in Kansas reduced to scrap metal along with the vintage cars inside.
Andover is a disaster. It reminds me of what we've seen in the news from the war in Iraq. It's terrible. It's a disaster.
Across the street, a convenience store is without its roof. While this business is devastated, the one next door is spared.
I own the Big Cheese Pizza over just 100 yards that way, and all we had was just a broken front door, glass cracked, that's it.
And yet your neighbor?
Totally destroyed.
9 p.m. It becomes apparent that the part of Andover hit hardest is the Golden Spur Trailer Park. Acres upon acres of property laid to waste, cars thrown about like toys, the stench of natural gas from busted pipelines fills the air. Choppers circle overhead, helping rescue crews on the ground look for survivors. Firefighters say the toughest part of the job is finding the bodies of dead children.
Well, it's hard. that's where you got to just put it away, put it aside, and, you know, later on let it get to you. Do your job as best you can, and then just keep on going until maybe there's one that might be in there that you can save.
At 10 p.m., the unofficial death toll in Andover stood at 12, but as each hour passes, more and more bodies are pulled from the rubble. Authorities say they won't know for sure how many died here until well after first light. Ten past midnight, rescuers call off the search for the night. The death toll stands at 22 with countless others injured. Volunteers will return at dawn, hoping the sun sheds hope on Andover, knowing that it won't.
From the air, little is left to distinguish one home from the next. Here, Andover's Golden Spur Mobile Home Park. Back to the southwest, expensive homes in the Springdale Lakes area are no match for the Twister's fury. The damage is widespread at McConnell Air Force Base, base housing and other buildings, including the hospital. Along the way, homes in Oaklawn and Hayesville also left scattered. Vivid damage from the air becomes even more realistic on the ground, up close.
There isn't much left of the Country Corner Trailer Park. The sign at the front office says the park's open for business, but only a brick foundation marks the spot where the office once was. Mennonite relief workers tend to nearby homes. Most of them don't know who lives here. They don't care.
The Mennonites came by and they helped do a lot. They raked up all this stuff, and they done real well. And now we're ready to get trash trucks and haul it away. Other than that, we're still here.
Across the street, sunlight pours through the Townsend's new sunroof. The family owned one of the first homes on this block and added onto it one section at a time for nearly 40 years. And now...
You can't imagine. You can't imagine. There's just no words for it. It was just, it's like here and then it was gone.
To work this hard, 38 years, and in less than 30 seconds, it's gone.
Around the corner, the neighbors abandoned their home, but made sure to leave their address behind. The family lost both their mobile home and their house. One sits on top of the other. And as volunteers continue the cleanup effort, residents in Hayesville and South Wichita are left looking for some peace, some reminder of what their lives once were less than a day ago.
The sirens are going off for 15, 20 minutes, but I thought, no way would it hit this place.
But it did, and it hit with a fury that's left base residents devastated. Bryce Morgan says the walls of his apartment came crashing in around him. He says it was 15 seconds of terror that seemed like a lifetime.
I just closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I remember the bathtub just going round and round, and the bathtub flipped over, and I could feel stuff falling, stuff pounding on top of the bathtub.
Some families fled the base as the tornado approached. Many came back to nothing.
We ran up here to see what was going on. They said, after they told us when we got on base, that it was Ant, which is right behind where we live, we knew.
With little destruction of base hardware, some think the path for aid may be clear.
There is some ability of the military to provide some initial funds anyway, and we'll have to see what we can do to repair some of this.
As we look down on the far southwest side of the base, we can see the tornado completely gutted the recreation center down there. Then made sort of a jogging action to the north by northwest, came up and hit the Burger King, which was gutted literally from the inside out. Several cars there just completely banged up, probably totaled. The next path of the tornado was to take on the hospital, which it just devastated. This is what's left of the hospital, the roof and walls crushed, while the trees and ground are littered with debris.
It's like almost like a disaster movie scene that you see with the twisted cars and the houses that are blown apart, and amazing devastation in a short period of time. It just shows you how how 30 minutes can make a tremendous difference in somebody's life.
It's a difference sure to be felt at McConnell for years to come.
Even those who survived the tornado are touched by the death around them. Doris Cottle found refuge in her basement, but moments after the twister hit, she made a grim discovery.
Right north of my driveway, we were standing at the end of the driveway, and we looked over and someone said, "Is that a little doll?" And I said, "Oh my God, no, that's a little boy or little girl, little baby." It looked like he's about 2.5 maybe, laid there covered with mud. And of course, we called an officer, he came over and checked him, he was gone.
Even now, she doesn't know who the child was or where he came from. This man has only one question left: why his mother had to die in the storm. His only comfort now comes from her mementos scattered across the land. From Greenwich Heights, the tornado headed northeast through Sun Valley and Springdale Lakes, where the damage is just as incredible. But here, everyone survived. Most residents are surprised they did fare so well, while around them their houses crumbled.
Oh my God. A beautiful pond back there and trees all over.
Is that your house used to look like? Yep. Karen LeMay looked out her front window and saw the twister headed her way.
And then this tremendous, tremendous roar. And the house was just like vibrating, and then it was gone. It was like it lasted maybe about 5-6 seconds, and it's gone.
Long enough to destroy this neighborhood, but not its community spirit.
We all know everybody's okay because we were all out in the streets afterward, and we were all here.
Down here, about a block on our left or on the east will be the mobile home park, and on the right side it will be the individual residences.
Those trying to return to what used to be their homes early this morning couldn't even get into the area without a pass.
We got to have proof that you have a reason to be in there. I know you do.
Residents and relatives had to show proof that they live in Andover.
We got a pregnant woman. We're going to have another meeting.
Do you have driver's license? Can I have another name?
As they waited in line, they talked of how they managed to escape injury, while others didn't.
You know, everybody in the shelter was screaming, and when we came out, it was all gone. And we were walking around the trailer park, and there were just people laying everywhere. And I know most of our neighbors didn't make it out, because when we came out to go to the shelter, they were still in their house.
And we did see one lady laying along the road, dead there as we walked out. But they are going to find a lot more today.
Even after they had their passes, those living in what used to be the trailer park were not allowed back in until the search for victims was completed. Some sat along the road looking and remembering.
When I came back, I seen a lot of neighbors that didn't make it. It was sad.
Although the 210 homes are now mixed together, most just want to try to find some peace of their lives before the tornado hit.
We went in the cellar, shut the door and blocked it up, and then we started hearing it. It didn't blow the door open or nothing. It popped your ears, you couldn't hear nothing. It took only maybe about 2 minutes, and we come out and everything was gone.
There's not much left of the Gilliland home in Cowley County. It was reduced to rubble in a matter of seconds. They're still looking for their pickup truck and a horse trailer. They've searched for miles. But miraculously, some of their more fragile belongings were spared.
We found a whole mess of dishes that wasn't even broken. It was under our stuff, but it wasn't broken at all. I don't know how, but...
Down the road a bit, friends of 19-year-old Marilyn Decker searched for what's left of her belongings. When the tornado was on the horizon, her neighbors begged her to run for shelter. She said she wanted to ride it out. Her body was found several hundred feet from her trailer.
Coming back from Ponca, we heard the problems they were having in Wichita, and then when we got here, it was gone.
Janice and Matt Carter lost just about everything.
Still looking for things, the personal things. The rest of it's all scrap, trying to find a picture here and there, that kind of thing.
At least 17 Cowley County homes were completely wiped out. Dozens of others were damaged. The Cowley County Commission declared it a state of disaster. It doesn't even begin to describe the devastation here.
A good trauma team always anticipates disasters and how to deal with them, but no one was prepared to see the number of injuries. Yet you have to go on.
We've been rehearsing disaster drills for a long time now, and this is the real thing, and it's pretty obviously dramatic, but we're prepared, I believe.
Just a multitude of things, a lot of internal injuries right now, a lot of critical patients. We're just treating them as best we can, getting them to the OR, to the trauma units. We're handling it okay.
And now it's time for everybody to look back. Sam and Ruth McClymans are happy to be alive. Their home at Springdale Lake is gone.
All of a sudden, the wind came up and blew the glass out and just kind of blew me into the small bathroom. And that's where I stayed until the thing was over.
Everything came falling down on me. The bricks from the fireplace in the study and the bricks from the fireplace in the living room.
You just feel fortunate that you haven't had a big loss, you know what I mean? Yeah. Material things are not that important, really.
I was scared, but I couldn't move.
Marjorie Deaton saw the tornado and hid in the closet. It destroyed her sister's house in Hayesville.
It just hit all at once, and then when you wake up sitting there in the midst of all that rubble, why it's something to contemplate, I'll tell you.
And then there's Daniel Aguilar. He always thought tornado sirens were a joke, until now. The roof of the club in McConnell Air Force Base fell on him.
We started joking some more. We heard the roar. We all got quiet. We looked at one another, and then we just all hit the ground simultaneously. Once we were down, it's just like they said, it sounds like a freight train, and it didn't seem like it was ever going to stop. It just kept going and going, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Night number 2 falls on the makeshift shelter at White Elementary. About 15 Wichita and Hayesville families will spend another night here.
Everybody's really nice. Everybody's been real good. There's lots of food to eat, and everybody's been real helpful.
Others are here to get identification tags, which will allow them past police barricades so they can return to their homes. Most of the people coming into the shelter have no electricity. They're here for their meals.
I never realized that just exactly how much the Red Cross helped everybody out until this incident. They've really seemed to do a fantastic job with the people around here.
The Salvation Army has served 350 meals here today. They'll use 50 to 60 tanks of soda pop tomorrow. Meanwhile, volunteers have delivered nearly 400 meals to tornado survivors who are waiting for food at home.
Everyone's working together in close cooperation, doing a good job, well organized. When you consider that just about 25, 26 hours ago this hit, very well organized.
The Red Cross will add a service center to the shelter at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, helping families in need of food, clothing, and blankets. The shelter will remain open all night for as long as it's needed.
I just wanted to say that on this day of worship, we were expressing our prayers for the victims of the terrible tornadoes, particularly those around Andover, Kansas. Bob Dole called me yesterday about this awful destruction, and perhaps on this Sunday it's a good time to say a prayer for the families that have been hurt so badly by this devastation. But we'll do whatever we can to help. Others are moving very quickly to help, but it's been a terrible tragedy and just an awful thing for a lot of families in our country, not just in Kansas, but elsewhere as well. Thank you all.
It looks no better than it did Friday night when residents of this Andover neighborhood came out after the tornado hit. Now they begin the big job of cleaning up, but they don't have to do it alone.
Go through this stuff and find out valuables, put them over here around his motorcycle, trash over here, and if it's questionable, put it by the trash.
One of the groups helping is the Mennonite Disaster Services, whose volunteers spent the day moving from one home to the other, helping in any way they can.
My hat's off to the Mennonites, man.
They come in here to the things that I said to heck with it. They got in there with chainsaws, took section at a time, and we took truckloads out of here that was salvageable.
Many know firsthand what these families have been through.
We lost everything in the Heston tornado, so my wife and I here, we wanted to turn around and do somebody else a favor. We probably had 30 or 50 people help us in about 3 days, so we decided it was our turn to go help somebody else.
A busload of Heston high school students also pitched in.
We got help at Heston, and our school decided that they were going to come out here and help. So, I guess just paying back a favor.
Once the cleanup is completed, the big question for these homeowners is whether they will rebuild or move. Wilma Henriksen, News Channel 3, Andover.
This April 26, 1991, we're watching a tornado north of us, kind of northeast. We're on 103rd Street southeast of Clearwater. Tornado's heading for Wichita.
Linda Potter captured this tornado as it picked up steam, heading through Clearwater on its way to Hayesville. Everything in its path is no longer standing.
When I opened the door, I just noticed that I didn't have a garage. All I can see is my neighbor's barn no longer there, and that was it. My shed was gone, and a lot of my possessions were found half a mile away in the wheat field.
David Lindell barely had time to get his 3 boys in the basement before the tornado took away part of his home. When we found them, the Lindells stopped to rest for the first time since the storm hit. Up the road a couple of miles, Terry Luther's friends are helping him haul off a lifetime of possessions. He watched from the storm cellar as the tornado robbed him of his home.
As I look out the door, I can see my house lift up, take the roof, and then it started moving the whole thing.
Tree over there.
His Green Beret and his military medals were about all that made it through. His wife's wedding ring that she kept in a jewelry box is gone. He says he's thankful, though. He has his friends, his wife, and his life.
Amid the rubble and debris, the memory of what had stood for 60 years. Myers Garden Spot, it was called, a tree and plant nursery that was a mainstay in the south of Wichita. When the tornado approached, there were a dozen or so people here, among them the owners, Nellie and Elliot Redenbaugh.
Well, we watched it as it touched down, and it was a long, narrow funnel. And then once it hit the greenhouse, it got windy, so we shut the door, and it was just like a roar. The house kind of shook, kind of like a sonic boom, and I didn't think it really done any damage, but it did.
All told, more than $1 million damage, and the Redenbaughs had no insurance for either the contents or for many of their vehicles, nearly all of them destroyed. But the good news is that no one was injured. Elliot saved the lives of 3 children in a truck when he rushed out, grabbed them, and took them to the cellar of this home, where his wife and others took refuge.
I could see it coming over the greenhouses when I headed for the cellar. And I mean, I didn't stop to really take a second look because I could see debris flying in the air.
It's unbelievable. It just happened so fast that you just can't believe it. There's probably $1 million worth of value, but I'm just glad to be alive. The Lord took care of us.
Beginning the next morning and again today, scores of volunteers have been helping Myers Nursery try to salvage what they can of plants and trees. But with little insurance, the future of this business is in doubt.
I'm sure we'll rebuild because we want to keep tradition up. We've been here so long, and her grandfather bought this place in 1929.
I'm with Elliot. We're just taking one day at a time, one step at a time.
The path of ruined homes in Oak Lawn stretches for blocks, 2 or 3 houses wide. The houses are small, thin walls either crumbled or had holes punched through them. 79-year-old Louise Trump made the trip back from a nursing home today. Her old house is gone, but her neighbors survived.
I was afraid it was that Bruce's house, but that's why we came down here. I wanted to see if they were all right. But
2 women were trapped next door, the fallen tree blocking the exits. The family's still sleeping here in spite of the present danger.
The wall right there is leaning, and if it keeps raining, it'll probably make the trees fall and crush it in. And the ceiling is sagging real bad.
Those who took the tornado head-on have just handfuls of belongings left. People here in Oaklawn may feel a bit forgotten in the ruins of their neighborhood. While others were hit much worse, no one's come here to help them yet. And in this working-class neighborhood, folks who lost everything will need as much help as anybody to put their lives back together.
I've been through some wild things, but this has been about the worst.
Ted Huffman's home collapsed. He wasn't here. In a few weeks, he'd planned to make this his retirement home.
We'll probably tear it down, and I'm not going to rebuild. I'm just going to see if I can get the insurance out of it. And
Ralph Webb is cutting away the once majestic trees. He's not charging anybody. Says he knows they need help.
Pole lamp, barbecue grill. I know 5 cassettes for the kids.
Even people making lists of what's gone have little hope of putting it all back together the way it was.
They just have to come in and take it out, and I'll just move somewhere else. That's about it.
But survival makes way for some dark humor here, too. The woman says the white flag means she surrenders.
The base hospital was one of 9 Air Force buildings totally destroyed. Shortly after the Army Reserve found out about the damage, initial plans were made to provide medical supplies.
But then we got the idea, well, why don't we move over a little bit and let the Air Force come into the Army Reserve Center and see if we could help them with space also.
The Army Reserve quickly vacated about 1/3 of its facilities to make room for the Air Force.
Right now we're moving furniture. What we're unloading now is the patient records. They were intact. A lot of our supplies are still intact. So once we get everything moved over, we can be operational again.
Moving a hospital is a very large job. The furniture and the medical records must be transferred to the new location, along with the medical supplies and the equipment that must be tested before it can be used. While not all of the equipment survived the tornado, quite a few of the medical supplies were salvaged.
Our concern is sterile supplies, and we're checking in any packages that are wet at all. They're being disposed.
Though the temporary clinic expects to be up and running sometime Monday, it could be several days before the moving process is complete.
Richard and Lucille Jacobs had a basement under their double-wide trailer, but there wasn't time to get to it. Lucille was in her favorite chair when the storm hit. Lucille Jacobs leaves behind her husband, Richard, 5 children, 21 grandchildren, and 17 great-grandchildren.
Somebody had said the next day after she died that of all the mother-in-laws in the world, I had the one that they would have liked to have had one like.
We mourn her loss in one way, but we're not mourning and crying for it because she's in a better place.
It's easy to tell just by the debris the kind of life that Lucille Jacobs led. Everywhere there are signs of devotion to God.
When they found her body and rolled her over, he said that she had a peaceful look, that she looked like she was at peace with the Lord, and I believe she was, because I know that she was ready and things were there in place. She'd served the Lord all of her life, and she was ready to go.
She had a really full life here, but it's like her life was not really going to begin until she went to heaven.
Lucille's legacy is not the possessions she may or may not have left behind, but in the lessons she taught her family while she lived life at its fullest.
And she wanted to serve him no matter what it took. And I think now that she's in heaven, and I think the bells are ringing, and I think the angels are rejoicing because a child has come home.
3 days after the killer tornado hit, and it's still chaos out here. Some 300 homes decimated. You can understand that after the first couple of days, it was difficult to tell who lived where and what happened to everyone. Now, in the center of this mobile home park is this underground bunker with steel reinforced concrete. Some 200 to 300 people, it's almost unbelievable, were jammed down inside here. They survived the tornado. When they came out, of course, there wasn't much left. As of yesterday morning, there were some 200 unaccounted for individuals in this general area, and that is when a very intensive 24-hour search began using maps. As of this morning, only one family is missing.
45, and these 2 trailers were completely gone. We could not find any of the remains
of those trailers. There was no papers or debris left at all.
This is all that's left of what was once the mobile home of David Clay, his wife, and child. Really, all there is here is a blank spot where the trailer once sat. After searching for hours throughout this field, they found absolutely nothing, not even a scrap of paper that would relate somehow to the David Clay family, and so their search has ended in vain.
So if anybody knows the whereabouts of David Clay...
Shortly after our story aired, we received a tip from someone who said they thought they knew where David Clay was. We followed up on that tip. Sure enough, he was at his parents' home.
I understand that apparently they still have one unidentified fatality down there that I guess it had a tag on its toe with my name on it with a big question mark.
It may not seem like much, but these small items mean the world to Paul Scaffey. The only things left after the tornado destroyed the material things he and his wife Rose had collected during their 53 years together. Today was the first time his wife had seen what the twister had done to their home.
I didn't dare bring Rose out on account of her condition, but tears came in your eyes.
Paul had hoped to find 2 special pencil drawings given to him long ago by his aunt, and couldn't believe when one was found by the volunteers cleaning up.
Oh, they're looking for the dog now.
Isn't that something? You never expect to find something like that, would you? No way. Well, thank you so much. We're finding a lot of things that mean so much.
Just a few minutes later, the other drawing was found, only slightly damaged. Despite the tragedy, the couple was left with 2 irreplaceable items, special gifts from the heart and their lives.
It's unbelievable. Words can't explain it.
In times of despair, people often turn to their church. This is what's left for St. Vincent de Paul's parishioners to turn to. A double hit for Scott Blackwell, who lost his home and home away from home.
Yeah, everything. It's just in a blink of an eye, it's gone. It's hard to believe.
Scott and his brother Bill did manage to find the pastor's car, or parts of it, thrown some 400 yards across the street.
Well, we've got to go. It's good seeing you.
Father Mike Baldwin had no time to look for an earthly possession. We found him looking after his flock.
I started with the people, and I still haven't gotten around to all the people that I want to see. There are people down south. That's my goal yet this afternoon, to get down to visit with them. People who've lost their homes, people who have had severe damage.
Parish communities like Wichita's St. Thomas will help in the meantime with weddings and other Catholic services.
The church is people. And when people come together, you know, God is there, you know, and their community is there, so that's the church. All the building does really is make it easy to come together.
Parishioners had actually planned an expansion to their church, shown on what's left of this sign. Now they'll start from scratch.
Strong community won't go away. It will be richer and better for this experience.
Oh, and about that car, we were happy to help with the reunion.
Where did you... I can't believe you found this. Well, I've got something to show the insurance company.
Miracle of miracles.
Oh, really?
My heart just goes out to the families of the victims, and this is incredible. Real tragedy.
Elizabeth Dole reacts to seeing the aftermath of the tornado that ripped through Andover. The sight of the wreckage is already etched in the minds of those who lived through it. The Red Cross president is concerned about them as well as those helping in the cleanup effort.
Well, you've been working, through the weekend? Probably no sleep at this point, right?
About 15 hours in the last 52.
Dole says she's eager to help the victims write a new chapter to their lives. But that requires money. Money she hopes to secure once back in Washington.
from national headquarters raising about, we'll need about $2 million to contribute for Red Cross. And I've seen estimates of $50 million, but I think you ought to check that because that's just what I've seen in the paper. And, you know, I haven't talked with anyone about that since I've just gotten here.
For now, the Red Cross has set up a makeshift financial center to help the homeless find temporary housing. On the way out, they can stock up on food.
Well, there are a lot of great humanitarian groups working together, and that's what's important. Take care. Thanks.
There's talk of rebuilding, but that will take some time.
Judging from the damage here, we're going to have to stay here as long as they tell us to because it's too messy. There's a lot of folks out here hurting.
An ominous wind out here seemed almost as determined to stop in the cleanup effort as workers were to continue it. But the Red Cross and other agencies say not even rain will stop them from helping the tornado victims get their lives back in order. Kai Jackson, News Channel 3, Andover.
Any decision on federal assistance for the tornado victims?
Wait, I'm glad you asked about that one because one of the reasons I kept you all waiting a little bit is I just signed the disaster assistance for Kansas, and I expect as the other requests come in, they will be processed that rapidly. But it's I mentioned yesterday coming out of church that our hearts really go out to the victims. Bob Dole was out there the night before last in Kansas, and he called me up, I think it was Friday night, or Saturday night, I guess he got back, and said he really never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see how much destruction there is, and we're hoping that we can, give some of our help to maybe clean things up and do our share.
Most of these students worked in silence, soaking in the grief felt by those who used to live here.
The horror that the people had to have gone through, knowing that the invasion of their lives and how devastated they must be to not have anything.
It's really sad, and I'm just glad to help. It's just because I know if it was me, I'd want somebody else's help.
They searched for hours, looking for any personal belongings. They found quite a few, feeling little victories along the way every time they discovered something.
Picking up pieces of people's lives, it's just devastating. Just little things we found. It's real hard to pick up some of these things.
Nearly 50 students signed up to help the tornado victims after seeing the devastation on TV.
It really hits close to home because my friend Alicia, she goes to my church, and their trailer got destroyed. So I'm just glad I can help.
Like those who lost their homes here, these South High students will never be the same. They can't help but feel for those who escaped with nothing but their lives.
Friday's tornado cut a narrow path through homes in Oaklawn. About a dozen houses were leveled, another 20 or so badly damaged. Some structures have but a bare wall remaining. But residents here were fortunate. Though many lost their homes, there were no serious injuries. Federal disaster officials will be here Thursday, and the process of financial assistance will begin then. Temporary housing, and in some cases, cash grants to help rebuild. Nearby, in the city of Hayesville, some homes were untouched by the twister. But just a few houses away, neighbors did not fare so well. 15 homes ripped apart, scores of others damaged. There were no serious injuries. But residents here got help right away. Boxes were brought in, and trucks have, for the last 3 days, been packing up what's left of everyone's belongings. Many of these homes are already condemned.
Will they just start all over again and level them and begin again?
In many cases, they probably will have to. Yeah, there won't be enough to save to make it worth their while.
And so the people of Hayesville will be moving on with their lives, some perhaps in a different direction.
These workers aren't destroying anything. They're only finishing
what Mother Nature in her fury already started.
Electricity went off at 7 o'clock, and that was when it took the house. And neighbors about 10 miles away said that it struck there at 10 minutes till 7.
Driving by this home that sits on one of many rolling hills in Cowley County, it might go unnoticed. Now the family can only wish that would have happened before it was spotted by a tornado.
We were wanting some business, but not necessarily this way.
Several homes to the north were completely destroyed. There's nothing left. They're not even recognizable. That's why the Dvorks consider themselves lucky. True, they start from scratch, but they feel at least they have something to start with. Rebuilding will be difficult, but not impossible. The two daughters who've grown up and moved away returned immediately after news of the storm to help any way they could.
We worked a lifetime to build what we have, and it went in 5 minutes, but yet we've got friends coming and helping us, and it's brought, you know, us closer, I think.
That's my television set, the remnant.
Tragedy has indeed struck this home, but it has only strengthened the family inside.
With a shout of relief, many kids eagerly returned to school, the one place that remained unchanged in the face of widespread destruction.
Morning, big guy. How you doing today? All right.
Many of the returning students now wear donated clothing, and some had to catch a bus at a central pickup point because they no longer have an address. Lindsay and Evan Scott couldn't wait to tell how they survived the tornado.
Then they come down and we put pillows over our heads and stuff. And then it's coming by our house and you just hear like popping in your ears and the stuff falling down your backs and everything.
Those same memories of the storm weigh heavily on some kids who could only express their fears through their artwork.
A lot of the kids drew the tornadoes and the houses that had been damaged, and I had several kids draw the mobile home park where everything was just jumbled in the picture and you couldn't tell, but they were able to say, well, this is where my mobile home was, and this is where my couch went over here in this corner. And
even the youngest children are bound to relive the tornado.
The smaller one has woke up twice crying about things he's left, which I never would have thought he would have ever remembered.
But each day as the children return to this familiar place, teachers say the anxiety will lessen and things will go back to normal. But for perhaps many weeks to come, some children may be haunted by the storm that almost swept them away.
Well, it was. It was. How long have you lived here?
Oh, about 23 years.
For the past 3 years, Ruth Hall has lived by herself, but she never has felt more alone than after Friday night's storms. A tornado took everything she owns, almost took her life.
I just restaurant into the house, and we weren't in the house, but a second or two, her house was gone. And when we hit the bottom of my stairs in the basement, we were there maybe 3 seconds, and my house was gone.
He came and dragged me in the house. And then pushed me down the steps. He actually saved my life. I'd have been laying out there.
But Jack Neal has done more than save Ruth's life. A member of the American Postal Workers, he knew Ruth was alone with no one to help her clean up the debris. He told his fellow union members, and they've been helping Ruth all day.
She probably didn't have anybody else to turn to, so we're all God's children, I guess, and we should help, one another. So.
Bigger wheel button.
I was just odd, and and the more came, the more appreciated I got, and I'm just so happy about it now. That it makes me feel a little better that I'm accomplishing something. I'd still be sitting here in this mess without the help that I'm getting today.
Soon the debris will be cleared, the volunteers will move on, and Ruth will have to make some decisions about her future. But for these few hours, she's just glad she did not have to be alone.
It's such a dream, it's just hard to realize, that what you worked for 23 years in a home, and then in a half a minute, it's gone.
Crews are clearing away the last of the debris near Greenwich and Pawnee. Rachel Starnes lost much of her home and now depends heavily on volunteers for just about everything.
Well, they've kept our morals up, gave us a lot of support.
Others are in need of just the basics.
The lady that came in this morning with 3 children, she didn't even have any shoes for her children. Everything was gone, and it just...
From the confines of a tent, volunteers are now stretching their food and clothing supplies, while just miles away, the Andover Relief Center has more than it can handle.
We don't care where they come from. We just want them here because we have so much here. We have cases and cases. I've got semi-trucks coming because we aren't even going to be able to keep it all in here.
The overflow could be channeled to Greenwich Heights, where tornado victims need basic first aid.
Children's medicines, allergy medicines, disinfectants, iced tea, pet food. There's a lot of pets around here that are getting overlooked, and sandwich stuff, basically to feed the people here, and that's what we need.
The help that is now available comes from a few private residents who can only do so much. Without more donations, they fear victims here may simply go without.
Bob Heibarger has taken a few days off from work to clean up his home near Towanda. He gets a helping hand from some church volunteers. Despite losing a third of his home, Bob feels fortunate.
All we lost was the garage, so a lot of other people lost worse shape than we are out here. So we've had a lot of good friends come over and help clean up the stuff. We feel really fortunate because we could have hit a lot worse than we did.
Nearby, construction workers are restoring Joyce Faye Cox's home. She and her husband Rodney hid in the basement as the tornado approached.
He looked out our back glass doors and he said, "We're going to get hit." And he came in and grabbed one of the babies out of the playpen we got under a mattress in our storage room.
It took 13 years to construct this scenic subdivision. Real estate developer Bob Birch says much of it was gone in less than a minute.
It used to be our farm where we had some cattle and horses, but it was remodeled for us very, very suddenly Friday night.
20 miles up the Turnpike, damage wasn't nearly as extensive in Cassaday, although several homes, like this double-wide trailer house, were moved several feet from their original foundations.
Cassaday residents had about a half-hour warning to take cover. No lives were lost, but a few homes were.
About 30 seconds, it was all over with. It laid her down. It just took everything off. We're lucky, real lucky. Nobody got hurt or killed up here.
The trailer next door was blown away. Its frame landed in the yard across the street.
What'd you first see when you got over here?
Devastation. It was all over with by that time, see? I mean, there was a trailer right across the street here, and it just completely wrapped it around those trees out there in front. Just one great big glob.
And as the cleanup continues in Towanda and Cassaday, residents here say they're thankful for what they have, ever mindful of the lives that were lost nearby in Andover.
We're all saddened. We're all in a state of shock that we don't have Ruby at the desk. Everybody loved Ruby.
That's the sentiment of everyone at the Andover Senior Center, where 58-year-old Ruby Crawford was the director. She was killed Friday night while trying to help an elderly couple take shelter when the tornado hit the mobile home park.
You know, she was always helping somebody. She always was ready, no matter what. When I was sick a lot this winter, she drove the bus. She'd get out of that bus and run up to my apartment to see how I was. And she just did things like this for anybody.
Her friends and co-workers at the senior center are now trying to deal with her death.
When I got the word, I cried. It was devastating. I'm going to miss her. She's a very close person to me, and I'm going to miss her.
I just couldn't talk for a long time. That's all there was to it. It just was a bad shock.
At first, some shied away from returning to the center. Now they sit and reminisce about the woman they all loved.
We're going to be missing her an awful lot. I mean, she was a true friend.
When Friday's storm hit, many homeowners found they had not prepared for the worst. Their homes and cars were not fully covered by insurance.
We talked to our insurance agent, and he told us we were like $27,000 underinsured to replace what we had.
Dennis is now hoping to qualify for enough money to rent an apartment for her family. Others are applying for loans, most financed at 4% interest.
Now, if an applicant is declined for a loan, we have a third program, which is called the Individual and Family Assistance Program. And it is financed 75% by the federal government, 25% by the state.
Tornado victims can also qualify for unemployment assistance if they're unable to work or their workplace has been destroyed. But homeowners know there are some things that can never be replaced.
My wedding dress is gone, our wedding pictures are gone, the baby pictures are gone. I don't have any of that. It's all gone.
Paul Record strives for the first time in a week to catch up on news of the world, but he no longer sits in front of his own TV. At night, he stays at the Tall Grass Inn with dozens of other tornado victims. His days are filled with decisions.
You look in all the papers, you call everybody you can, you spend the day on the phone. And my boys are coming back before long, and this is a nice place, and the staff's done well, but let's face it, 3 boys need a yard to play in, you know.
But Records admits he can't complain that his insurance company put him up here. In fact, even out-of-town claims adjusters are here to do things like finding clients a place to live.
In this particular case, any place we can get them in, and fortunately this place has quite a few of them, but this is not the only place.
Everyone around Wichita is this way. We've been in close contact with Marriott and residents and stuff like that, and they're just as affected as we are.
The one irony in having so many storm victims staying at a place like this is when the weather turns bad, they all have one simple, serious question. Where is the nearest tornado shelter? But a place like this doesn't have one. But most displaced people worry more about what to do next than what the weather may bring. Losing your home is a strain no matter where you are.
We don't have our clothes. I mean, we have a lot of clothes, but I mean, we don't have all of our stuff sorted out. Everything's real unorganized and stuff. And just everyone's really stressed out right now.
And the stress just keeps building.
What to rent now, how to rebuild, how fast to rebuild. But no matter what you do, you run up against a lot of brick walls.
No matter what he tries, Paul Record says it never seems to come out quite right.
Yeah, this is our pond, and all this stuff probably belongs to neighbors, and who knows? You know, it's just debris from everywhere.
Ed Newland is now a free man, but for several hours Friday night, while he waited in a jail cell, he didn't even know if he'd have a home or family to return to. His crime? He was driving back from Garden City when he heard radio reports of a killer tornado near his home. Newland began driving 70 to 90 miles an hour until he was stopped by a Goddard police officer.
I said, you take my driver's license and keep it. Send me the ticket in the mail, or I'll come back out here and pay the fine. But I said, I'm going home.
Way of relating those things to.
But Goddard police say Newland did not explain his circumstances until he was pulled over a second time and arrested.
The officer continued following him with his red lights and sirens on. And the individual just wouldn't pull over. He was not speeding all that much, up to 61 miles per hour at times, but the speed wasn't so great. He just wouldn't pull over and stop.
One of them called me a drunk SOB, and they handcuffed me and put me in the car there. And
from there, Newland was taken to jail. He says he repeatedly asked that his family be contacted, but he says he was told to shut up and be quiet. It wasn't until 1 in the morning, almost 4 hours after he was arrested, that Ed finally made it home. Only then did he know for himself what had happened to his wife and 2 sons.
that's the biggest thing that bothers me the most is that I wasn't here, you know.
Now, in addition to rebuilding, Newland must go to court. He faces charges of speeding and attempting to elude a police officer.
Thelma Fry bows her head when she walks towards what's left of her Andover home. The pain runs that deep. And when she remembers the moment she stepped from her basement into the light, it hurts more.
It was terrible, you know. But when you get up and look out and see what everybody's gone, every house.
Like others, she lost everything, but Thelma Fry realizes she could have lost much more. Somehow, she knew early in the week trouble might be ahead and cleaned out a space underneath her basement stairs. 3 days before the tornado hit. She still isn't sure why.
I don't know, really, unless it was just God speaking to me. Now, I went and got in there, sat down on that there, and grabbed my blanket and put it over my head. And
That's incredible.
I'm here today.
But when Thelma really wants to feel fortunate, she needs only to look to the east, to where 14 people died. You see, for 21 years, Thelma Fry lived here across the road in the Golden Spur Trailer Park. She moved out in February, her family getting her out before the storm season. She has trouble coming back here now, mostly because the woman who moved into the trailer that used to be here after Mrs. Fry moved out died in the storm.
And I was so thankful to have the basement to go to. I think it was just so ordered that they got me here, and I'm happy they did. And of course, as I say, it's all now in the past and life's got to go on, so that's all we can do.
But late at night, she'll still think of the friends and neighbors who didn't get out alive.
Joe Parsley is alive, battered and bruised, a survivor. His dog Britt is also a survivor. At a friend's home, he runs and plays in the backyard, but he misses his friend Joe.
Oh, yes, he does. He sits at our back door and he looks in, and you can tell he's looking for Joe.
And that loyalty helped Joe Parsley make it through his tragedy. As last week's tornado quickly approached the Golden Spur Trailer Park, Parsley was on his way to the shelter, but time was running out. Instead, he took refuge underneath his pickup truck and listened to the world blow by.
I knew the force of it was going to take practically everything, because I'd never heard or seen anything quite as devastating.
The vehicle was lifted by the wind. The transmission fell on Parsley's midsection.
I'm hurt, but I don't know how bad I'm hurt. I'm alive. I'm thankful because I did a lot of praying. So,
for nearly 45 minutes, he waited, nearly passing out from the pain. But the whole time, his faithful dog remained at his side.
Were you keeping him company, or was he keeping you company? We were both keeping each other company. And it was a blessing to have him there.
Joe Parsley may have to be in the hospital for 2 months. It may be a while before he gets to see his friend Britt again and say thank you.
But yet, knowing I'm alive, I didn't see how I was going to survive to start with. But knowing I'm alive, well, that was good.
Monica McClary and David Benson had a dream for the future, to marry and live in the rental house they'd worked so hard to furnish. Now, this is all that's left of that dream. Monica, who was already living in the house, was making out her wedding invitations at the kitchen table last Friday evening when the tornado struck.
It knocked the front room in, and then it just took me in the kitchen and carried me about 20 feet over there where that green pole is over there. And that's where they found me, yelling for help.
Monica was buried under heavy boards. Her landlord, Dean Parker, rushed to her aid.
She did look like a pincushion. I mean, she had nail tears everywhere you could look.
All I could do was say, God be with me. Please bring me out of it.
Did you think you were going to die?
Yes. I didn't think I would live through this.
Miraculously, she did. 66 stitches and many bruises later, Monica's all right physically, but emotionally, she and David don't know what to do next. They have no insurance. Their carefully laid plans shattered.
Here was my comment.
It was hard to take. It was real hard to deal with. We just couldn't believe it happened to us at this time when we was trying to get married and had everything we wanted, and then we lost it all in 3 seconds.
David and Monica plan to go ahead with their June 7th wedding, and when the preacher says for better or worse, they'll be able to say I do with confidence.
I'm just thankful she's still here. She means a lot to me.
I think the reason that he didn't take me is because he knew I had high plans for my life. I strongly believe that that's the reason why.
On most days, Butch Gilbert is teaching his students at Rose Hill High School how to compose stories.
Get up under the
the girders. But Friday night, he and his two daughters became the subject of a story when they were caught right in the middle of the tornado, and it was caught on videotape.
And as we were going, I said, okay, we get there, we get up under the bridge. And we stopped, and you guys had just gotten out of the car and were telling us to get up under the girder. And really, for everything considered, that's probably the best place to be. And it helped that I didn't panic, and it helped that you guys didn't panic. And I had my arm over Corey and a little bit on Carrie, but I don't know whether it was Ted or you was holding Carrie's feet down. And she talked about that and how that helped her a little bit to feel better. But you heard her screaming during the thing. She was really scared.
Okay? Yeah. But some cars and trucks did not make it to the overpass. This video in slow motion shows a car that was picked up by the twister, thrown off the road, then back onto the road, and eventually landing back in an adjacent pasture.
I think it is beneficial if other people are there to share it with you, and that you get more than one perspective on it after it's over. Some of the things you said on TV helped kind of reinforce what I felt, and I know it helped the girls feel good about what they went through. They went through something they know was life-threatening, but at the same time, there's a little confidence there that what we did was right and that it wasn't just blind luck that we got through it.
Here is the Hook Echo over eastern Sedgwick County.
Still on the ground, still moving towards the city.
Here comes another one. Hang on, Ted.
Have extensive damage. We need all reserves out, any other help we can get.
We got a closed head injury here, blood pressure 90/80, irregular pulse, probably internal injury.
Oh, God.